From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MVW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal Cready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal Cready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. We'll talk to Jeffrey Wright here in a bit on the podcast. We'll go through some of Neal's picks. Those are up on the site at rebelgrove.com, and we're a couple days away from Ole Miss and Arkansas, Saturday, 6:30 p.m. inside Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. You can see what Matt Luke said last night at practice, Elijah Moore as well, so that stuff up. You got picks up and plenty of other topics to discuss, a good bit of Chancellor talk on our message boards and more. So we got a website, you ought to go check it out. Again, that is rebelgrove.com, and while you're coming into town this weekend, make sure you check out Oxford Exxon as well. It's right there on Highway 6 West. You can't miss it when you're coming in from Batesville and I-55. Daiquiris, lunch specials, ribs, you name it, they have it, as well as great gas prices, courtesy of the Mobile Rewards Program, the Speed Pass Plus app, and more. And maybe when you're coming into town, you're inside a Clark Ford.
That would make you one of the cool kids. 662-257-1900 if you want to become a cool kid, get a Clark Ford. Call Corey at Clark Ford. Tell him what Ford you're interested in. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get a great product. You get phenomenal service during the sale, after the sale, long-term after the sale. Corey wants to be your truck guy. He wants to be your car guy. He'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900. You know, you mentioned the website. Now would be a really, really, really good time to subscribe to our site because the message board community is a lot of things right now. It's entertaining. It's informative, it's kind of controversial, and at times, to be perfectly honest, it makes you feel like you're more normal than you thought you were. You're okay, because there's a lot of angst. There's a lot of opinions out there.
A lot of opinions, and just a very volatile time. Everybody's a little high-strung. You know what I mean? About whatever topic it is that bothers them, whether it be Chancellor, academic recruiting, football, just kind of in general. Everybody got a little edge to them.
It's that we're having that moment in Bull Durham when they're all on the mound.
Got a lot going on.
This is not as simple as, hey, let's just pitch the ball and get out of here. Got a lot going on right now. And you know what? A lot of the stuff that people bring up on the board is legit. There's reason to be upset at a lot of stuff. I get it. I thought it was interesting yesterday that someone brought a thread over from another board, I guess the Ole Miss Spirit, about Dave Doran. Yeah. That happened. I'm glad we're finally getting to the place as a community, if you will, that we can quit fighting about whether it happened or not. It absolutely happened.
It did.
I mean, it did. You know, we at the time we got some pushback a little bit from some people that no, that's not right, and you need to get on board. And well, it's not our job to get on board. It's not our job to not get on board. It's not our job to be part of a board. We just cover a program, and that absolutely happened. Dave Doran was hired until Dave Doran wasn't hired.
A lot of steps were taken for him to be the head coach.
I'll go further than that. He was hired. Here's all the proof you need to know. Two fronts. I don't know why we're starting here because I kind of wanted to, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, but okay, whatever.
So I just wanted to clarify.
It's all good.
Two things that we knew that we couldn't report. One was that the Dorans apparently have a child who has, I don't know, some sort of a learning issue. Whatever. We all have issues. And they were already getting him into the right classes at, I think, Oxford Middle or Oxford High. I can't remember, one or the other. And the other thing that we knew was that Ross Bjork was going to be, along with a faculty representative, in Raleigh, North Carolina that Saturday. And then he wasn't. And he wasn't because Vitter stopped him. And people do this. I'm going to defend Bjork for a second here. When your boss tells you what you're doing, that's what you do. And when people say, well, he could have fought back, he could have. He could have resigned in protest. Hard to pay the bills after you've resigned in protest. It's easy to say, hey, walk away from a $500,000 a year gig. It's another thing to walk away from a $500,000 a year gig. It's easy to say sabotage your career. It's another thing to sabotage your career. It's kind of it. And I said this on a soft verbal. It's going to get recorded today. People do the what should have happened. I'll tell you what should have happened. It's two different conversations. You can have a conversation about what has happened and what they should do from here because the decision was made. What should have happened in a regular place is that Bjork was allowed to make his hire. They would have made a hire that would have turned the page on the Hugh Freeze chapter, ended it, moved forward. It was going to be a tough – whoever got the gig, it was going to be a really tough run. You weren't going to have full scholarships. You didn't know the extent of your sanctions. You didn't know how long it would take. There was going to be relationships to be repaired. Whoever got the job was going to have his or her hands full. But what would have made sense was to hire Dave Doran. They didn't do it. They hired Matt Luke, and they are where they are today. And this is where people get into the debate about what kind of a job has Luke done, what kind of a job has Luke not done. People get hung up on individual football games, and I don't know. There's a big picture. There's a small picture. There's a lot of different opinions. Is what it is. But when you go back to assess what happened, when you go back to say what happened, how did they get here? Well, they got here because Jeffrey Vitter wanted to stay chancellor bad. Wanted to be chancellor bad. And he was willing to do what he thought would give him the capital to get it. And he listened to a handful of people who pushed really hard. And he made the move. He overstepped Ross Bjork. And in rank, chancellor is above AD. So he told Bjork, that's not what you're doing. This is what you're doing, and Ross did it.
Yeah, chancellor is above vice chancellor. Ross's title at the end of the day was vice chancellor.
Yeah, chancellor's the head honcho. And that's why Chase and I talk about this all the time. You guys wonder what we talk about sometimes. We spend a lot of time talking about football. And frankly, for the university, what happens this football season, and maybe even what happens with Matt Luke, positively or negatively, is really inconsequential compared to what happens with this chancellor hire.
I talked to some people yesterday, and I kind of thought this. I was going to let Gerard say what he said. I've kind of not reversed, but I haven't really just let yesterday impact me as much as maybe I thought I was going to yesterday afternoon. I do think a chancellor will be named by the end of November.
Look at you.
I do.
Walking out on a plank.
I do. I think a chancellor is named by the end of November.
Let's go here because
okay.
I've talked to people who tell me they don't think that's going to happen. I talked to a pretty prominent booster yesterday who said he'd listened to the podcast and he agreed that it would be into.
And now I'm saying named. I'm not saying start date. I have no idea what a start date would look like.
I know. Listen, I mean, we're not having a competition here. I'm just curious we're not gambling. What is it that you heard? I know you can't be totally specific because you can't violate sources, but this is news to me.
Okay.
What is it that you heard that made you so confident that, they're getting this done?
I think the schedule is closer to on schedule than we thought, perhaps. I don't think there's been some crazy delay in it. And, look, this has happened before at other places. Might have even happened here, I'm not sure. As long as there is a candidate they can agree upon and they don't have to, start over or something. I think it will be done somewhat on schedule. I'm even giving myself a little leeway. I think I'm probably maybe even 2 weeks late, but I'll go end of November just to be a little safe. That's what I was.
Well,
I was told that by multiple people yesterday who would have at least some idea of the process.
If that's true, that makes, because a lot of people are listening to us today saying, talk about football, talk about football, talk about football. If that's true, that perhaps makes this season more relevant.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not saying that anybody should be fired. I'm going to be consistent on this. There's a body of work here that you have to evaluate, and 1 out of 12 games is not enough of the body of the work to evaluate it.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Holler back at me Saturday night, which is what you and I said all along, was before we make any sweeping judgments on what this season is or isn't, let me see the Arkansas game.
As JG would say before we start the show, let me remind you that we're at Funky's tonight, 5:30 start time for that one. Our first live show of, I guess, the semester of, it's not really fall, but of the fall, whatever you want to call it. Since the break, Jordan Teamu is going to join us, the former Ole Miss quarterback, so we'll talk with him about football, life, who knows, pizza, something. So come hang out, 5:30. Today is National Cheese Pizza Day, apparently. I was told that by a couple different people yesterday. So $2 domestics at Funky's tonight. Come chill, hang out, talk, ask Neal for autographs, pictures, make him give you a complete rundown of the 5 or 6 chancellor candidates that are most likely to be hired. We'll have a big time. So.
Yeah, while we're talking about events, let's knock these 2 out before I forget, like I almost did yesterday.
I got it in there. What's the problem? All good.
I got a lot going on. There's a lot happening.
Today's busy. I got a lot going on today.
I've got a lot going on today. I've got a lot going on tomorrow. I've got a lot going on this weekend. I've got a job to do. I've got a house full of people coming. There's a lot going. There's a lot happening here too. I mean, candlesticks aren't going to solve everything that's happening at this house. I'll tell you that. We need more than a bucket of chicken, although we might have to get one of those. Anyway, let's see. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow at Nelson's. Is it Nielsen's or Nelson's? I've only lived here 12 years.
I think it's Nelson's, right? Don't ask me questions like that. No.
The iconic department store on the square.
Since like 1839, I think.
There. What's that?
Since like 1839, right? I've seen that.
Yeah.
There's a billboard coming into town.
It's been around
a long time.
A long time. Anyway, at the at Nielsen's on the square in Oxford, Dead Soxy will be there. They're having an event this weekend. Their new alumni line is out. It's cool. It's fantastic. There are photos of it, of some of the socks on the website, rebelgrove.com. They'll be there from, let's see, noon until close tomorrow, and then noon until 3 on Saturday. Kickoff is 6:30, so you have plenty of time if you're up on the square having a libation, having a meal, walking around, whatever the case may be. Plenty of time to drop in, check out the new line before it's available to the public. Get you some Dead Soxy socks. You'll love them. They stay up. They stay cool. They are fantastic. Don't take my word for it. You can go look at them yourself right there, and then have plenty of time to get to your tailgate, to get to the seat for the football game, all of that stuff. So 12 to close on Friday, 12 to 3 on Saturday, and then also on Friday, out at Wonderbird Spirits, Blue Delta Jeans is having a whole hog roast, and you're all invited just by listening to this Potato Log podcast right here. You're all invited to come out to Wonderbird Spirits. It's in Taylor. It's easy to find, and they'll have a cash bar. They'll have whole hog provided by Neon Pig, and they'll have all of their line out, some of the new colors, the new fabric that's out. Their denim will be there. There's special pricing tomorrow night.
The dogs will be there too. Those dogs we saw last time.
Who?
The dogs, remember? The dogs will be there.
those are the best behaved dogs. It proves to me what a terrible dog owner I am.
They just sat there all night, just chilling.
Yeah, those dogs are awesome. So there's a lot to see out there. It's a really cool spot. It's a beautiful setting. So come out, see us. I'll be there early. I think Chase will be there a little later. We might cross paths. We might not. We don't know. But come out, see us. Get you a pair of Blue Delta jeans. You'll love them. We both have them. We love them. You'll love them too. It's tomorrow night at Wonderbird Spirits in Taylor. Starts at 6:30.
Yeah, Wild Rose Kennels is where the dogs come from.
Oh yeah, they're really much better behaved than mine. I walked in yesterday. I let the dogs in because it was hot. I was doing the yard, and I walked in yesterday, and Rizzo had climbed up on top of the kitchen counter and was eating a plate full of lemon squares.
Lemon squares.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Like I just sent you a picture from the promotional yesterday. I mean, is there a better group of looking dogs anywhere? I mean, look at that. Sorry, people, you don't have ESPN 8.
Let's see here. No, those are good looking.
That's good looking dogs.
Good looking Labrador retrievers right there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but that's I bet all of them in one house would be quite active though. A lot of bumping into stuff.
Yeah, we love our dogs. They're great, but Rizzo likes the kitchen for obvious reasons. If I had a nose 100 times stronger than my nose, I'd like the kitchen too. But he's so big and he's in the way, and you're always saying move, and I feel guilty for telling him to move all the time. But if he doesn't move, you can't move.
Before we get into Jeffrey in a minute, news from yesterday, really not a lot, but Braylon Sanders still day-to-day game-time decision. Reading tea leaves, I'm guessing he's not playing or it's very limited just based off body language when I asked Matt Luke yesterday. So that's just kind of what I'm guessing. He said he would like Givens to get 50 to 60 plays. He played 37 plays this past week. We know they're going to play Broker, and then Brian Rippey asked him about where does he find that 7th, 8th offensive lineman, and he named some names, but I think you're probably looking at a 6 to 7 man rotation. I think obviously Matthews is going to play a little bit, and then Broker's going to play. I'll be a little surprised if it gets much more past that, barring injuries. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I have a little information kind of on background on Sanders, and they're aggressively trying to get him ready, but I don't sense a ton of optimism.
He had not done anything explosive as of the end of practice yesterday. Nothing. He could run a little bit in a straight line, but he couldn't do anything dynamic, if you will.
Yeah, hard to play football that way.
Yeah, I mean, it just is. It is what it is. Mostly prepared for Ben Hicks, prepared a little for Nick Starkel. We'll see. The running backs, to me, are the story. Can you stop those backs?
Yeah, because they're both good.
Yeah, Whaley and Boyd.
Boyd last year was on his way to SEC Player of the Month before he got hurt.
Yeah. He was having a day.
Deal. You and I were watching the Ole Miss-Memphis game together, and on numerous occasions when Memphis would do something cute, you and I would say, why don't they just keep running it? I think Arkansas is going to keep running it.
Chad has the tendency to be cute. I'll be curious.
He does. I wonder if they go back and look at that film from last year and say, if we would have just kept it simple, we'd have probably pulled this off.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Both teams desperately need a win. Arkansas hasn't won an SEC game in been a while.
Yeah, they were 0-8 last year, weren't they?
Yeah, and they weren't much better than that the year before because they fired their coach.
Right.
They might not have won an SEC game since the crazy comeback in 2017.
The one we referenced yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
Much crap that we don't remember stuff like that.
I know. I mean, I know the average fan sometimes listens to us and goes, "Oh my God, it was this, and this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. That is no longer relevant, and I only have so much room for relevant right now with everything going on. Yeah, sure, I'll remember if you give me enough time, but put me on the spot, no idea. I don't know.
It was 31-7 Ole Miss at one point in that game, and they lost.
Yeah. We've seen several of those over the last few years.
Yeah, I don't remember that game with much specificity.
It's the one last year that I don't remember that people have to keep reminding me of how Ole Miss sort of blew it and whatever with South Carolina. I remember nothing about that South Carolina game last year.
I kind of remember it. It was very badly managed from a offensive play calling with a lead standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
What I remember now about the Arkansas game in 17, I think, speaking of Jordan Ta'amu, that was his first start.
Right after the LSU game.
Yeah. Shea had gotten hurt. Hell, I don't know.
We'll ask him tonight.
He'll probably remember specifics.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go to Jeffrey in 1 minute. First, I'll tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. All underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. So getting local underwriting and understands your market, a leader in condo financing and the float down option, so you can lock in the current rate. But if rates go down before you close, you get the lower rate. Also, interest rates as low as they've been in about 2 years. So a good time to call Jason, 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
We're also brought to you by Home 2 Suites by Hilton Oxford. It's located at the intersection of South Lamar and Belk Boulevard. Newest Hilton property in Oxford, this all-suite hotel is proud to be locally owned and operated by Ole Miss alumni. Home 2 Suites, only 1.5 miles from the Grove. It offers complimentary shuttle service on game weekends. Rooms are still available for all home games, and Home 2 Suites is the perfect hotel for Rebel fans. Every room comes with a full-size refrigerator, freezer, dishwasher, microwave, basic kitchen supplies, complimentary breakfast, free Wi-Fi, complimentary washer and dryer, 2 outdoor patio areas. It's pet-friendly. Extended stay rates are available, and Hilton Honors points can be earned and redeemed for bookings. For more information or to book a room, call 662-238-3400 or visit their website, home2oxford.home2suitesbyhilton.com. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook to see exclusive offers and pictures of the property. We are also brought to you by Splinter Creek. Splinter Creek is a gated conservation community located 8 miles southwest of Oxford, 75 minutes from the Memphis airport. It's absolutely gorgeous out there. If you're coming up this weekend and you want to get a tour, give the people at Tom Smith Land and Homes a call, 601-898-2772. It's splintercreekms.com. They've been featured in Garden and Gun, Southern Living, all sorts of stuff. It's 34 lakefront homes ranging in size from 2 to 25 acres, 650 acres of lakes, pine, and hardwood forest, 6 miles of private roads. It's a well-maintained running, cycling, hiking trails. It's a preserve for turkey and deer, a flyway for birds, and it's home to bald eagles. It's absolutely gorgeous. And, again, you should go out and check it out. SplinterCreekMS.com, 601-898-2772. If you're coming in this weekend and you want to get your cooler stocked, I highly recommend Jackson Beer Company, 1801 Jackson Avenue West. Give them a call. Place your order. They'll have it ready for you, 662-638-3642. Or go in. They have 10 beer taps for sampling and growler fill. They have you can mix your own pack of beers from the single shelf, more than 350 beers to choose from. Ask about their kegs to go. Join their text program by texting JBEER, J-B-E-E-R, to 51660. Follow them on Facebook and Twitter at Jackson Beer Co. or on Instagram at Jackson Beer Company.
We'll go now to Jeffrey Wright on the Oxford Exxon podcast. Jeffrey, good evening. We're recording this on Wednesday night. Obviously, people hearing this on Thursday. You and I were just talking before we hit the record button about lines, about Vegas, and you hey, is that Carly? No, that's not.
Oh, yeah.
Carly barks now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
First time for everything, right?
Wow. She had been dead quiet the whole time we were talking. I hit the record button, and here we go.
Did you get food or something?
Yeah.
Oh, Blair's girlfriend's here, so she freaked out.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, we were talking about Vegas, to my picks, and you had a really good week. You have a couple game lead. I think you were 5 over, maybe 5 or 4 over 500 for the week. However, you believe that college football odds makers are getting a little better. Is that correct?
Yes. So that's actually bad news. I told Aaliyah I told Aaliyah that if I was out of it by, the end of September, I was handing my picks over to her, and that momentarily got her excited. But traditionally, I am a fast starter. I do dominate week one, and then because usually I think I don't know the exact numbers, but I would bet more favorites win in week one than any other week of the year. And I'm dumb, so I just bet favorites because I'm convinced that in my brain, if you are better and you are favored, you should cover.
Why week one though? What's the deal there versus extra weeks?
I think in week one, because more stuff. Like in week one, you have like more stupid penalties. It's sloppier football, and because it's sloppier, the team, because both teams are usually sloppy. Like oftentimes when an underdog wins, unless you just have, special circumstances, but in general, when an underdog wins, they typically have fewer mistakes and fewer penalties, like the stuff that's like procedural. And I think in week one, everyone's just kind of sloppy, and so the team that's just better inevitably ends up winning. But I think now that gambling has become legal and it's more widespread, and now that there's a significantly higher interest in it in terms of a business, I think lines makers are now being exposed to better power rankings and whatnot. So like kind of all the same information that it used to be that, if you were really diligent and you were really good about it, you could occasionally get a pretty good, a favorable line here and there almost every week. And now, like, I just scrolled through the board and I'm just like, I hate you. Like, you couldn't even give me, like, that used to be my favorite when you used to get like that 2 or 3 week window where you were going to make all your money that you were probably going to make for the year, and you were just holding on for dear life and trying to stay in the black for the rest of the year. And now they're basically just like, yeah, we're ready to go week 2.
Is it fair to say, though, that it's probably gotten as good as it can get? Because at some point, college football that the NFL doesn't have, it has 2 things. It has, number one, as we mentioned a few minutes ago before we hit the button, is from an execution standpoint, it's not as even across the board. In the NFL, which is always going to be the hardest thing to bet on a week-to-week level, the execution is very similar team to team to team. There's a lot of parity. Execution is very similar. They're all professionals. In college, you're going to have execution differences. You're going to have certain groups on the field that do not execute at a very high level. And then 2, I feel like swings happen so much more. Emotion plays into it. Teams have a much harder time kind of reversing the ball back the other direction. That's something that doesn't necessarily happen in the NFL as much either. So there's probably not an extra level. As good as all these odds makers are right now for the college game, this is probably the ceiling. I think this is going to where we're going to be. It's never going to be like the NFL.
I think that's probably fair. I think the other thing you have to factor in is the length of a college football game. Like the fact that the clock is slower, it allows for more comebacks. Like basically in the NFL, if you get down 3 scores at any point in the game, you're pretty much toast with the way that the clock runs. But also with college, you have college clock rules, and then you have the massively long timeouts. By the way, quick shout out to the American Athletic Conference on Saturday for running an NFL commercial kickoff commercial special during the first half. That was breathtaking. But like, you know what I mean? Like college games because they take 4.5 hours, I think that allows for kind of the massive swing. You know what I mean? Like you can fall behind, and because like you can't really like stay on a run, like because the game just kind of stop, start, stop, start, stop, starts. Like, I feel like that has somewhat of an impact.
It's like if it was a basketball game, you're getting automatic timeouts to kill the runs.
Yeah, exactly. I think someone smarter than I am, significantly smarter than I am, which isn't saying much, but I think the next thing that you'll start to see is more and more in-depth analysis of particular position matchups, like certain player on certain player as a preview thing. I think that's going to be the next guys that I think that's probably the direction that it goes if you're going to try and get ahead of Vegas. But I think in general, you're right. I think this is as good as it gets. But I also never say that with Vegas because they're not in the business of letting you get a step ahead of them without them pushing back.
We didn't talk about this. I don't know that I've had a conversation about this with anyone. The ACC network trying to get up and running, it waited so long to do it. It's not even on every carrier at this point. They missed the boom for the big contract, right? They've waited so long now. I mean, what is this thing going to look like as it moves forward?
I don't know. It's. I think that's fascinating because my overall hypothesis was this feels like it's too late. Everyone likes to do the whole, if you're a right winger, you like to say, well, MSNBC is losing subscribers. If you're a left winger, you like to do, well, Fox News is losing subscribers. The reality is subscribers are generally across the board going down because people are cutting the cord. What I think is going to be fascinating is I think with as many over-the-top, whatever, OTP, basically the streaming services, not to get super technical and nerdy, the amount of streaming services, if you want to cut the cord that you're now having to get all the content that you want, like you think about it now, ABC's doing Disney Plus, and like CBS has already kind of dabbled in it. So to get all the things that you're going to want to get the kind of the basic content, I think it's going to start creeping closer and closer back to what cable and satellite prices are if you're kind of aware. And I think maybe there's kind of a regression to the mean, perhaps, because I think we saw a ton of cord cutting initially, and it was kind of a fad. Like it was kind of a fad to say, like, especially for people my age, like, oh yeah, I don't even have cable anymore. It's like, screw you, I'm never coming over to your house. Like, I hate you. Like, how do you watch games? Like, what do you want, a freaking medal? Like, congratulations. Like, you cut the cord. Like, what do you get out of this? And so perhaps maybe the gamble is if you're trying to launch a network now, that in 5 years we'll start to see cable or content numbers, whether it be satellite, subscription numbers, we'll start to see them kind of maybe balance out. But I do think that's a gamble.
Here's the funny thing about the cord cutting, and I'm a cord cutter. We use Hulu Live. You and I have talked about the delay and all that stuff. But here's the deal. As of right now, it's cheaper. There's no doubt. I am saving a little bit of money. Now, am I saving enough for it to really matter? No, probably not. It lets me hit my head on the pillow at night or something. I don't know what it is. And also, by the time that... For
the record, you never closed your eyes and told me you cut the cord.
Okay, well, fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you weren't...
Yeah. I get it.
It's...
But point being...
I have three visuals right in my mind. But yes, I know what you're saying.
By the time, though, that you pay for, whether it's Hulu Live or YouTube TV or whatever you're doing, Netflix, let's say we add on a DVR, let's say we add on Showtime, let's say we add on HBO, let's say we do this, we add this a la carte, now you got Disney. You're paying relatively the same money. You're just doing it a different way. And what's going to happen is more people cut the cord and more people get away from the satellite stuff. The streaming services are going to raise their prices. In 10 years, we're all going to be cord cutters, and we're all going to be paying almost the same money we were paying before, except we're going to be working off 3-play delays to do it.
I also will add this. I think the only direction, if cord cutting becomes more and more of a trend as time goes on, one thing that I know about publicly traded cable and satellite companies, they are not in the business of shrinking their profit. So what I think you're going to start to see is if you just have internet through someone, I think you're going to have to start paying more money for internet, especially if you're streaming as much as you are. Like you're going to have that's how they're going to make their money back somehow. And I used to think that they were going to make it back by offering more like value packages to try and make themselves marketable, but that really hasn't caught on. Like when Verizon won that suit against ESPN, I thought that was going to be kind of a big deal. It didn't end up being really much of a factor. So because that wasn't a factor, like they're going to make their money, they're going to make profit somehow. And I got to imagine laying down, again, I am speaking somewhat ignorantly, but I have to imagine the investment of laying down better cable that you can offer faster internet. I got to imagine if you can charge more for that, it's probably an investment that they're going to make. And I can see where that's the direction that you go. And I think the way that they're going to start getting customers back is, well, if you bundle through us, you can get your internet at, $20 cheaper a month or whatever, $30 cheaper a month. Or if you just want to keep the internet, it's going to go up, $15 a month to get what you're used to. I think that's their next play, but I'm still kind of on the fence because I don't think in general the people that are running these companies are morons, but I do think trying to figure out what consumer habits are, because part of like what we were saying with cord cutting is part of the decision for a lot of people, particularly like people my age, it was less of an economical decision and more of like it was a fad. So how do you factor in a choice that doesn't really factor in economic factors, and variables, but it's like emotional. So I think that's what's kind of made it difficult on content providers. But I think if you made me bet today, I think you'll see the numbers stabilize at some point in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Getting over to a couple different football topics. We talked on Saturday after the game. Now that 5 days are past, if you just had any further thoughts, any evaluations of Ole Miss or Memphis as we move on?
So I watched the replay last night when I couldn't sleep. Well, I'd been working on a theory that your brother and I had, and the theory was, is Ole Miss's defense, like there's no question, Ole Miss's defense certainly from a aesthetics, like from an eye test, certainly like was better. Like you just watch them, they lined up, they looked like a defense. But I sat there and I looked at the numbers when we were doing the podcast. I'm like, good God, every running back that Memphis had basically rushed for 5 a carry. That's it's a little bit better. I think last year was roughly in meaningful games, I think teams rushed for like 5.5 a carry. The backs did. But my theory was their defense that much better, or did Memphis leave a ton of points on the board, either via false starts? I think they had 7 false starts or 7 procedure penalties, and Brady White's inability to hit plays that were there. And I'm leaning more towards, I don't think the defense is quite as improved as we might have thought in week 1. But there's also a caveat to that. Because, like, for instance, I think some of the plays that were there for Memphis were stuff that picked on the linebackers, because I thought they were very good in run support, but you could tell if you were trying to pick on them in the passing game, or if you kind of tried to mess with their eyes a little bit, they got out of position pretty quickly. Now the flip side of that is the most of the important ones are junior college transfers, and the more and more games they get, perhaps that becomes less and less of an issue. But there were more busts in the secondary than I thought initially after Saturday, and I'm just not convinced that the defense is that much improved. And then when I watched the offense, I think one of the common complaints that I heard was, well, why didn't they try to move the pocket more and roll out Corral more? Chase, they tried. Like, part of the problem is Corral's fundamentals were so bad, and it could have been because he got spooked early. And when you get that much pressure on your first 3 or 4 dropbacks, it seems like a relatively reasonable reaction to kind of speed things up. but like a lot of times he was rolling and kind of moving forward, and he got himself out of throwing position. He got himself out of, when you roll, you're supposed to also get depth when you roll too, and that gives time and space to make plays. And so oftentimes he'd kind of run out of the pocket, and then he'd run out of space. And I just, unless they found some answers on the offensive line that I'm not really sure about, I just think that's going to be a continued theme throughout the year.
Take a break in our talk with Jeffrey to talk about Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, premium lawn care throughout northern Mississippi, but a lot more as well. Mastercuts will build your custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, outdoor living spaces with paver patios, forestry mulching, and much more. The patch your dream backyard easier than you think with Mastercuts. Go mastercuts.com for a free quote, or you get that same free quote with the call 662-607-7773. Go mastercuts.com.
We're also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in more than 20 states. It has advisors in several states. We put up the Mind on My Money podcast yesterday afternoon. You should listen to it. A lot about 401ks this week. If you're interested in getting more information about your company's 401k plan, maybe you are an owner of a business, you're not particularly happy with the return, the results of your 401k, get in touch with Pinnacle Trust, their 401k advisory services program. It's fantastic. What they'll do is they'll conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan and get you back going where you're improving your employees' retirement readiness. So mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the Oxford Exxon podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fees. We're also brought to you by the Westin Jackson, downtown Jackson Marriott property, home to Soul Spa, the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Also home to Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro, where you can sip on a creative craft cocktail, enjoy their curated wine list, or enjoy many of Chef Caden's very fine offerings there at Estelle at the Westin Jackson in downtown Jackson. We're also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you've been thinking about maybe that golf trip, maybe you're thinking about a anniversary trip, one that you want to remember, you want her to remember for forever, get in touch with John. He'll set you up. What you do is you give him some parameters, you give him a budget, and he'll give you options that you wouldn't find on your own. He is part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allow him to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. If you want to take a look at some of the travels that John makes with his contacts, go to follow him on Instagram. It's John C.T. Edwards. John C.T. Edwards on Instagram. You can look at some of the really cool places he's been with or as a result of all of his contacts in the travel industry. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. Go in, test drive one today. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on the podcast. You'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Yeah, we'll know more. You get an SEC defensive front. Now, it's Arkansas. They struggled against Portland State, but they do have some linemen. They're actually pretty good on the defensive front. Chavis is going to throw some things at Corral that he hasn't seen, at least obviously in game action. So, to me, just from an interest level, I don't know what kind of football it's going to be. I think it's probably a close game just because of these two teams. If nothing else, I'm pretty locked in because I do think both of these teams, when they get done, they're going to have a really good idea of what their season holds when they get done on Saturday.
I think that's incredibly fair. The other thing that I kept finding myself wondering is, we know an offensive line takes time to gel, but can you remember covering an offensive line that looked as bad as Ole Miss did, that by week 7 was even average? because I was struggling.
The problem that I have, and this is the credit to Ole Miss, I guess, a little bit, is, and again, I mean, I feel like I'm picking on the kid, but they were not good at left tackle. And in the SEC, you're getting so many good rush ends. You're getting so many guys at that position they're going to play in the NFL. You're getting such physical specimen over there that you've got to be really good right there. And you go back through it, Ole Miss has been really good at left tackle for more than a decade. You had Greg, you had Laramie, you had all these different guys. We just haven't seen this for Ole Miss. We haven't seen this from Ole Miss at all. I mean, really going back all the way to almost Bobby Massey and Bradley Sowell. And then you got Michael Orr.
You know, Bradley Sowell was a punchline, but I mean, Bradley Sowell's collecting another paycheck this year, I saw in the NFL.
He is. That's my point, is you haven't had this type of indecision at left tackle, because in a perfect world, and I don't know whether it's, you know, he's trying to play the best position for him at the next level. He's obviously been banged up. I'm not criticizing anybody, but you would have thought that Alex Givens moving over would have helped solidify some different things on that side. Instead, he's playing right tackle, and it's leaving just a hell of a situation when there's really not much of an answer. I mean, I think Nick Broker is going to get a lot of opportunities on Saturday potentially at that spot, but I mean, we're talking about a true freshman. You know what I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm speculating here, but I was also factoring in Alex's back might have something to do with not playing left tackle, in that, as you mentioned, I mean, oftentimes rush ends are the overall best athlete on a team. I mean, in the SEC, we certainly have seen that multiple times. And so maybe if you're a little worried about his mobility, you aren't going to flip him over there. Again, that was speculation, but I'm not even sure Alex would be the answer. I mean, I think he'd be better than Michael, but I mean, the only answer is basically to play the freshman,
or to flip Royce Newman out and then try to figure out guard.
Yeah, but I thought Ben was pretty good. Ben Brown, I thought, was pretty good on Saturday.
And Givens played okay.
But I mean, overall, like, I just, man, I don't know. Like, you look at the most and the least talent that Ole Miss has. To me, it stands to reason that Ole Miss had problems in the offensive line, because when you look at the roster and you look at the recruiting talent and whatnot, I'm not saying recruiting rankings would be all end all, but it's noticeably lesser on the offensive line than it is anywhere else.
We've talked about that probably enough. I'm kind of interested. NFL kicks off on Thursday night. Green Bay at Chicago. It's not the NFL champions, which usually you get on that first game. That's kind of stopped here. But Chicago, obviously, a team that's going to contend in the NFC. They're at home. They're only a 3-point favorite. I get the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, but doesn't this feel like you really jump on the home team, because they've done such a good job of winning those opening night games?
You want to bet on the Bears against Aaron Rodgers?
You would like Aaron Rodgers against Trubisky no matter what? Is what you're telling me?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
The Bear Killer versus the Bears? Yeah. I'm going to take the guy that has the nickname the Bear Killer.
So you're going to take your 3 points tonight by the time
people
hear this?
But to your point, the smart play seems to be take the home dog on a Thursday night.
Well, not the dog. They're favored by 3.
Oh, yeah, whatever. The small favorite.
Yeah, Bears by 3. What do you like this week?
Yeah, I'm still... Is it really, like...
Have you not flipped the
script?
Like,
think about it this...
You haven't, have you?
Think about it... No. Think about it this way. Last year, has there ever been a more what felt like easy bet in the history of the world than the Bucs without Jameis going to the Dome in week 1?
It didn't turn out well, Jeffrey.
Do you know
I remember that.
Because... like all intelligent gamblers, I had a bunch of parlays. And there was basically one game that I just penciled in all of them because I thought it was going to improve the odds and whatnot. It's like, all right, well, I just need them to win. That game was over at half. I mean, I kind of like Philly just to demolish Washington. I want no part of Jets Bills. Do you?
No, that's too ugly for anything. I have no desire. I mean, I mean, if I had to pick it, I like the Jets, but nah, I'm good.
Miami only getting 6.5 feels like the world's biggest trap against Baltimore. So I can't wait to see Miami win that. Yeah, can't wait to see Miami win straight up there. I kind of like Kansas City early because I always think Reed's a really good coach, and I think it takes time. Like I always think like he comes out ready to go, and you're only laying 3.5 there. Browns minus 5.5 feels like a trap, but I still don't really believe in the Titans, so stay away. I think I like Carolina as a home dog because the team that loses the Super Bowl always loses week 1.
I was just about to say, I feel like I really want Carolina in week 1.
But I understand, like, it's gross. Like, taking Carolina and then you can look up and see that the Rams have put up 31 points in at half and you're dead. So, I mean, like, that's always the risk.
You're betting against the better team.
Right. I want nothing to do with Colts Chargers. I kind of like Tampa Bay at home against the Niners because I actually think Garoppolo, like I think he's Matt Castle. Like I think that's Matt Castle 2.0. I don't care how he was spin zoning it. He had a 0.0 passer rating. Like you can say you were trying to make throws into coverage all you want. Like you still like can't make throws. So that's a problem. Detroit only laying 2.5 against Arizona feels also like an utter trap. The Cowboys should beat the Giants by more than a touchdown. New England at home early has not actually been as big of an auto bet as you would think. I don't know what I kind of like the Saints because Houston's they're breaking in so many new guys.
The Saints are
kind of like the Saints early
years. Awful. The Saints have been like 0-2 or something, or at least have lost their opener like 6 straight years. They get off to horrendous starts.
Well, your theory is that Breeze gets worse as the season goes on, which is weird though. They still coming out of the gate. They're not that good.
No, they're awful. I mean, they were going to be in a hell of a mess last year had they not just snuck by the Browns that day.
I kind of low-key think Denver's flying under the radar. The defense is still good, and Flacco's a punchline, but I don't think Flacco's as bad as – Flacco's better than anything they've had under center since the ghost of Peyton. So that's a pick 'em. I kind of like Denver there, but the problem is most of the teams I like are road teams in the NFL week 1, so best of luck.
How bad are the Giants going to be?
God, I hope really bad. I mean, the roster's so bad. Like, what good does winning games do when your roster has that many holes? Like, I get it. He's my favorite football player of all time. I would not start Eli a single game this year. You've already dealt with, like, to me, you are better off playing Daniel Jones and seeing if he's the guy, because in the course of a 16-game season, he will either prove that he is or that he isn't. And if he isn't, that means that you lost enough games to have another crack at taking a quarterback. Because now I'm at the point where it doesn't matter if you don't have a quarterback, so just keep drafting one until you find one.
So suck, take Tua if you want. Suck, take Trevor Lawrence if you want. Whatever.
Sure.
I mean, the Dolphins will really get the first pick.
For all the jokes about what the Cardinals did, it actually made sense to me. Like, we can disagree on whether or not they shouldn't believe in Rosen, but they didn't believe in Rosen, and they did believe in Kyler. So take it.
Give you the last couple minutes here because I know you're probably itching. Is Hugh going to stay with the bed in Lafayette, or how does he coach on the road Saturday?
I mean, you got to have So Lafayette, can you park a medevac on top of that field house right behind the stadium? You remember that place where we covered
The baseball series.
The Lafayette Super Regional, because like you couldn't see anything in the media area, so we just like, okay, well, we'll just go sit in the air conditioning.
In that little room, yeah.
Yeah. Is that a flat top?
I don't recall.
Because if it's a flat top, I think there's the opportunity to land a helicopter right there.
Well, then what are you doing with it?
Well, you have Hugh coming out of the medevac.
To the field?
Like a phoenix rising. Yeah, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Well, no, I mean, you can take it because, that little back road leads up to the back part of the stadium, and then that way you can have like a Hugh Freeze fan tunnel that he will have set up, and he can make his grand entrance, and they can take him up the elevator.
Take one more quick break in our conversation with Jeffrey to tell you about visitoxfordms.com. Go to the events page, see everything going on in Oxford, including these game weeks where really the schedule packs out. You can find out what you want to do if you live here, if you're just coming into town for the weekend as well. Visit oxfordms.com, the great place to go to see where to stay, what to eat, do and see, and the events page that I mentioned. On Friday, you get the public double-decker bus tours. Those are from 4 to 5 every single Friday of home weekends. Stacker Mountain Radio Hour, 6 to 7 tonight. Can't do that. It should be at Funky's, though. Oxford Makers Market on Saturday morning. That's 10 to 4 on the courthouse lawn. You've seen that throughout the months. And then Ole Miss football at 6:30 on Saturday night. So check it out for yourself. Bookmark it and keep it close to you. Again, visit oxfordms.com.
We're also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX legacy realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than he does. Go to his site. It's harryalexander.com. Also go to savannahsquareoxford.com. He's a big part of Savannah Square. It's a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square, conveniently located east of North Lamar. You can check that out while you're up in town this weekend. SavannahSquareOxford.com. Get in touch with Harry, 662-801-5621. The podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with a personal touch. It's also home to Kasasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account. With Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refund ATM fees nationwide. To learn more, go to liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. And we're brought to you by 7 South Tailgating. Whether you are coming up for one game, all the games, some of the games, regardless of your budget, your party size, number of games, they have a tailgating package to suit your needs and your budget. If you prefer to use your own gear, they'll store, maintain, clean, and repair that gear. If you want to rent from them some or all of your gear, they'll do that too. They offer many colors, types, and sizes to choose from. So call or go online today for a detailed quote customized to your specific needs. 662-321-1682 or visit 7southtailgating.com.
Has this changed how, and positively or negatively, I don't even know what your first thought was anyway, but how you actually think he's going to do at Liberty as a coach?
It's reinforced my belief that I do not believe that he's ever going to coach. He's never going to be a head coach in the SEC again.
Power 5?
I think Liberty's his last head coaching job.
Do you really?
In FBS. Chase, do you know what Syracuse averaged giving up defensively last year?
No clue.
Try 28 points per game. They were basically a bottom 70 defense.
Okay.
Liberty had -4 rushing yards on 34 attempts. So, again, if they could have just maybe gotten to that run-pass balance, they could have gotten there. And their quarterback had a 9 QBR.
And that's 0 to 100 for everybody. So what's his next gig then? What's the job? Is it coordinator? Is it FCS? What's he do?
I don't know. I'm more convinced than ever. The years that Hugh does the best are the years when he is focused on being a football coach and not a celebrity, And now more than ever, he is focused on making Hugh Freeze a celebrity again.
At Liberty.
At Liberty.
Okay. They will be debuted. I have not looked. When did you pick for the Arkansas-Ole Miss game?
I picked Arkansas.
Cover and win?
Cover and win. Did
you have a take from their Portland State game as we close?
It felt like a preseason game to me. An NFL preseason game. They rotated a lot. They were about as vanilla as you could be. The score was – it was an ugly football game, but it would have been a three-plus touchdown game without two kind of screwy turnovers. And I get it. That's part of college football and whatnot, but I still think that they have – I think they have good backs. They got a good tight end. They got a couple of young, talented receivers. I think they are going to put more pressure on Ole Miss than Memphis can. And I don't think Hicks is good, but I do think he's better than Brady. And while Arkansas's back end is probably – the back end of the defense is certainly susceptible, up front and in their linebackers, like they've got enough good players that I think their defense has more talent than Memphis's did.
Well, yeah, they're definitely going to be better up front. They're going to be better at linebacker. There's no doubt about that. They're better at the end. They're better at the nose, and they're better at middle linebacker. That's three pretty big spots.
So I just think
it's going to be a challenge for that Ole Miss front.
If you're trying to attack Ole Miss from a defensive perspective, isn't that where you try to go?
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of their tackles is going to be weak. In my opinion, they're very susceptible at center. And, you know, I would try to put as much heat on Corral as I can.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Because I'm not convinced, man. That's the other thing I was discussing with another buddy. I think the struggle with ranking quarterbacks is somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or a self-fulfilling destiny, if you will, because in my opinion, it's the most every single team, you know, is going to sign a quarterback. Every good team is going to sign one quarterback each and every year. So therefore, the demand for quarterbacks is way higher than the supply. And since we rank quarterbacks the way we rank quarterbacks, I feel like even a 4-star quarterback, there's a significant difference between a 4-star and a 5-star quarterback. Like the elite quarterback versus, like, just in general in college football, think about like a guy that's a pretty good quarterback. There's a difference between him and, you know, Baker Mayfield, or him and, you know, Tua. Like, there's a significant gap. And those guys, the 4-star and the lower ranked guys, are more dependent on the talent around them, whereas the elite quarterback isn't as dependent on the talent around him. So I think it ends up becoming a situation where the position gets over, you know, like it's intention, or it's inherently overinflated, because, you know, everyone's signing a quarterback, and if you get the 5th best one, you know, you got the 5th best relative quarterback, but there's still, I bet, a huge difference between number 5 and number 1. Like, who do you think right now in college football, how many quarterbacks out there are quarterbacks you truly believe in?
Oh, it's less than a handful. Or it's a handful.
Right.
That's
and
it.
How many quarterbacks are there out there?
Because I think your baseline, what you're talking about, it's a guy like Justin Herbert. It's not bad. It's fine.
Right. But he's limited. If you get pressure on him, he panics, and it's like there's a difference between Lawrence, Tua, and Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
There's a significant gap between those two.
I mean, Dan Jones last year, whatever you want to do with him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's
same
not bad.
thing. And when it's the same thing. Like you watch the film on him. He has plays where clean pocket. He looks great, but if you put a little bit of heat on him, he panicked and he started to go bad in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff.
And the other ones I got, I think I emailed them to you. I'm springing the trap with Missouri. I think that Missouri, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed all the jokes like everyone else did, the Missouri jokes. I do think that was kind of a fluky loss, and so I think there's a chance with Missouri. Also, West Virginia is like low-key bad.
Okay.
I don't know why. I know they can't score, and maybe they cover this game by losing 7-0. I kind of want Vandy in the 8.5.
Yeah, I do too. I really want Vandy for some reason.
And I do not know why. I cannot explain it. And they are anemic on offense. Like, they're worse than Ole Miss on offense. I am fading the popular dog. Everyone is on Texas A&M. So I'm going to say
you'll take Clemson to the points.
I'll take Clemson to the points. I also think in general, I think the gap between Alabama, Clemson, I think the only team there's two teams talent-wise that I think match up with them, and I'm not sure the other two. I think Georgia obviously matches up with them talent-wise. I think Ohio State does, but I'm not convinced about Ohio State's defense. But I do think offensively they definitely match up. But I think after that there's a significant gap. I was not believe me, no one knows more than I do that State did not cover last week. I actually left more impressed with State than I thought I was. Like, Lafayette covered, but if you watched it, it was a ton of broken plays that weren't sustainable with, like, just a freak athlete at quarterback. And I thought defensively, I think if they can clean up some of the big-time busts, I actually thought they were better on defense than I thought. And the Stevens kid, like, you see with Stevens what Moorhead has in mind offensively. He's not like McSorley as a passer, but he's a significant upgrade from Fitzgerald. And while he's obviously not the runner Fitzgerald is, he's not enough of a downgrade to where you sit there and you go, I think that I'm a little bit higher on State after week one than I was. This metrically, it says that Alabama should be like a 62-point favorite. But I don't know, man. Like, you and I have talked about this. This is that classic week 2 where Saban just doesn't cover. Like, he just, you know what I mean? Like, he coaches the game to not cover.
Oh, out of principle, I can't lay that many points. I'm out. I don't care.
Right. And the other way, like, to look at it, it's like, yes, this could be 70-0 or 7. But also, if the final score is 60-7, New Mexico State covered. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like betting the under with two high-powered offenses. Just no thanks. I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't feel the need.
Yeah, ask yourself, do you really – yes, it's a high number. Does that mean you really want the under? Because there's nothing worse than seeing an 84-point total in a Big 12 game that's 42.
That's what I'm saying, like old school Texas Tech Baylor. No thanks. I'll just take the points and go.
Yeah. Listen. I obviously don't want to bet on Tennessee, but I really don't want to bet on BYU. That feels like a trapper, like a true trap's trap. So somehow I'm laying them with Tennessee. Like, that's obviously a game like that falls in our, like, that's a game I wouldn't bet. Like, I'm just not going to bet that on Saturday unless I lose really early and have to start getting aggressive. I know the level of competition, and I know Georgia Southern has regularly gone up against Power 5 teams and got smoked like they did. I think what I saw with LSU was a contender, like that, and I'm going to go fighting. And keep in mind, I don't think since 2011 I don't think I've won bets in consecutive weeks on LSU, like rightly or wrongly, since 2011. But I'm going to lay them with LSU, and I could be wrong, but doesn't this feel like the ultimate Auburn, like, letdown trap game? Like, they'll win, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm basically getting 3 touchdowns. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I'm all over Tulane on this one. I think they're going to score just enough points. Now, I do worry a little bit about defensive line for Auburn just overpowering them. I do think that's a problem.
The worry is that you look up in the third quarter and Tulane hasn't crossed midfield and Auburn's hit 5 or 6 big plays and there's no chance.
But this is ridiculous of how people are in on Bo Nix. He's going to be a pretty good quarterback, but let's not get carried away. He made a bad throw and got a little lucky. So I'm not jumping all in on Bo Nix and Auburn right now.
But you cannot deny he throws electric incompletions and interceptions. Like, you hang on, you are on the edge of your seat on every throw.
He's primetime television now. He's going to do something.
He may be throwing into triple coverage, but he is doing so and letting it rip.
Freshman, no fear.
Exactly. Also, Eastern Michigan's worse than Toledo. That line doesn't make sense to me, so I took Kentucky, and I think that's what we got. And I took I took Arkansas to win and cover.
Fair enough. I appreciate it, bud.
All right, guys.
Thanks to Jeffrey for his time and adjusting the schedule a little bit. As I mentioned, we taped that on Wednesday night. You got to hear Carly bark and plenty of other things. So, fun night there. Let's get that interview out of the way. Also, the podcast brought to you every single day by G&M Pharmacy there on South Lamar in Oxford. 662-236-2222 is the phone number. You can transfer your medications over. You can call them about the delivery they offer because it's free to your home or workplace, or the MedSync, which allows them to fill your prescriptions on the same day every month, make it easy on you, cuts down on trips, cuts down on deliveries, and make sure you have what you need when you need it. When you head in, you can also see all their CBD oil options, including the roll-on that's new. I've been using that a little bit, prefer it to some of the other application options that they have. So again, you can find out more about that. There's sildenafil. You can do that through a product request online. You can go to gandmpharmacy.com. You click product request, and you make the prescription right there without talking to a soul. So again, that's 662-236-2222.
Celebrate 125 seasons of Ole Miss football with this exclusive offer. Pick one conference game and one non-conference game. That includes parking for just $125. Be sure to secure your Rebel Flex Pass this season at the Vault for just $249. New features this year include linking passes with friends, adding guest tickets, and more. Join the Rebel football team back at the Vault as they open their 125th season on September the 7th versus the Arkansas Razorbacks. Tickets still remain. And the 2019-2020 Ole Miss hoop season just around the corner. Don't miss any of the action of Coach Yo's women's basketball team and Coach Kermit Davis's men's team this season in the Pavilion. For information or to purchase all of the things that I just mentioned, go to OleMissTix.com. That's OleMissTix.com.
We'll use the last segment for picks. Again, they are up at rebelgrove.com as we, I say that. We're having a little site malfunction right now, Mr. McCready.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's fun.
You like site malfunctions?
I love them.
I mean, it's not signing day, so we're fine. There we go. It's worked. Just a quick little glitch. I apologize.
2 signing days in a row without trouble.
That's true.
That's a streak.
That's a streak. One more, and that's a winning streak. It has happened before. Okay, let's see. Zach and myself were pretty mediocre. You were just over mediocre, and then Jeffrey 8-3 against the spread last week to kick things off. Solid.
He was solid.
Yeah.
I was okay. Y'all were okay.
Yeah, okay's right. Not out of it. Just week 1. Plenty of time.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of time.
All good.
Not a lot of disparity in our picks this week. We're all sort of on the same pages.
West Virginia -14 at Missouri, 11 a.m. ESPN2. And just glancing at it, you're laying them. Let's see. I'm taking West Virginia in the points. Jeffrey is laying them as well, and actually, I'm the only one that is taking the points with the Mountaineers.
I had to fix your pick because I read your thing, but you had it at 14, and that was the line. So you were
that was kind of nice of you because you could have just let me lose one unless I actually pushed the line this week.
I'm a nice guy.
You could have given me one little option there to hit it.
You know, I mean, I have a reputation for not being a nice guy, and I get it. But I'm a pretty decent fellow.
Okay. I know West Virginia is not good. I think I'm overreacting on Missouri. I really think I do, but for some reason I'm going to make them prove it to me. Show me, if you will.
Yeah, listen, I can't criticize that.
I mean, I rode Wyoming last week, and it paid off, so let's stick with it and see what happens. You get the Helinski show for his first start in South Carolina this weekend, Charleston Southern, South Carolina, 11 a.m. SEC Network. That is the story of the game, is what that quarterback looks like, even though it's against an FCS team. No reason to spend a lot of time on that. It
Agreed.
is what it is. Intriguing game just from the standpoint of I kind of want to see where they are relative to Ole Miss. Vanderbilt plus 8.5 at Purdue, 11 a.m. Big Ten Network. Purdue coming off that loss to Nevada last week to open its season. And it looks like, for the most part, we are all riding with the Commodores with the 8.5.
Have you looked at the photo there? Of
Zach
Derek
is the
Mason?
only one that's taking Purdue.
Have you looked at the photo, Derek Mason and Kirby Smart?
It is
there?
a lot of eye contact. I mean, it's almost like Derek is being scolded or something. I mean, he is locked in to Kirby.
I don't think he's being scolded right there.
Is he being comforted?
I think so.
Derek Mason probably gets comforted more than any head coach in the country. He's pretty well liked. There's never anybody on the home crowd for Vanderbilt. They're usually losing. I bet he gets comforted a lot. Hey, it's going to be all right, Derek.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he's listening intently.
Oh, he's like staring into his soul.
Yeah.
Because you can tell Kirby is certainly the aggressor here. He's the one speaking.
Maybe if he's thinking, if I stare into his eyes long enough, I'll get paid.
I'll be his defensive coordinator next year.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I've got Purdue winning and Vandy covering. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Number
this
12.
is really a uniform confusion game, though, because the uniforms look a lot alike.
Vanderbilt will wear black helmets, I would assume.
Probably so.
Don't they have white helmets too?
They have a gold helmet, don't they?
Well, yeah, but Purdue's going to wear a gold helmet. I mean, they can wear the same color helmets. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Number 12, Texas A&M plus 18.5 at number 1, Clemson, 2:30 ABC. I think Jeffrey's the one that has this correct. I think that we're overvaluing A&M a little bit after week 1 when they played Texas State and Jake Spavital. Clemson and Alabama are probably way better than everyone else, so I have a feeling this is going to be a loss for you and myself because we both have A&M covering this line.
Yeah, I'm already mad at myself over this game. This was the one that I overthought when we sat down with the interns. We just kept drinking, and we just finally went with A&M because at that point we just liked their uniforms better. And so it's just a mess. A bad moment at the Palace.
You like A&M's uniforms better than Clemson's?
After I've been drinking heavily with all the interns here.
I mean, it's not the Snowball uniforms. I mean, the special editions. So.
I actually think the uniform in this particular photo is kind of clean.
It is the maroon on the white, maroon on white. For those who are not,
yeah, it's a pretty clean uniform.
You only took one shot at the Colt in picks this week.
Yeah, you can't wear that out.
It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Southern Miss plus 17 at Mississippi State, 2:30 ESPNU. The Golden Eagles coming off a win over Alcorn. Mississippi State beating a pretty listless Lafayette team. I have no idea, but I think State gets healthy. I think they cover the 17 and they go 2-0 into next week.
Yeah, and they're the type that like to run it up in games like this.
It's a rivalry game.
Well, it's just they're speaking of cults. I mean, they'll want this one worse than they should want it.
It should be a get in, get out, stay healthy.
Yeah, but they're so hung up on this is our state and the whole state thingy that the fact that they're in the state, they'll want this.
Okay. If you spend more than 2 minutes on this, frankly, that's 2 minutes too long. I don't know who would watch this with any other options. New Mexico State, who's god-awful, at number 2 Alabama, 3 p.m. SEC Network. And Mr. McCready laying the 54 this week.
Well, my theory is this. It's going to be 42-0 at the half. Tua's going to want some stats. They'll take him out. They'll put the other kid in. They want to keep him happy and get him ready for next year. So he's going to want some stats. And then they're going to put Tua's little brother in, and the crowd's going to stay just to see him play. And I don't know that they can stop him.
Talia?
Yeah.
Okay.
They scored 66. Was it 66 on Ole Miss last year?
Is that right?
I don't know, but scored a bunch.
Okay.
They can score a bunch on these cats, too, and I'm not convinced New Mexico State can scratch.
Jeffrey pointed out, though, that a 60-7 score is a New Mexico State cover.
Yeah. I told you I just felt like living on the wild side right here.
Okay. I'm spending no time on Murray State at number 3 Georgia, 3 p.m. ESPN2, whatever. Have at it. Okay. Yeah, sure.
You don't want to break that down?
I don't want to break that down. They are the racers, however.
State tight end Jim Bob Thornton. I'm kidding.
Okay. BYU +3 at Tennessee, 6 p.m. ESPN for this one. Big boy channel for the Vols and BYU. I got Tennessee covering.
Yeah, I got Tennessee covering too. By the way, on the picture above Murray State, Georgia, did you agree with my assertion?
Let's see. Probably. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. My initial thought
it's hard to
no.
tell just by view there, though.
Yeah. She's got her hands raised, and that creates a lift of its own.
I don't know.
But I think those are legit.
Okay. It's a better photo than the one below it of all the Tennessee riffraff.
Yeah, how about that photo, huh?
I mean, it's almost kind of like that Marshall Henderson gif that you have like the one thing that sticks out, but then when you really start looking at it, there's a whole lot more there.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot in that photo.
Yeah.
Very depressed people.
Yeah.
Very depressed people.
Well fed, though.
Well fed. Jeffrey taking Tennessee. Everybody taking Tennessee.
Yeah. I don't think BYU's particularly good.
You called them Nebraska East, which is funny. I like that one always.
They are.
They are. The game you're excited about, you got to find a way to at least follow it a little bit. Number 6 LSU -4.5 at number 9 Texas, 6:30 ABC, and everybody's riding with the Tigers this weekend.
I'm telling you, they're really good.
I feel good about this. I just think LSU's a better football team. I just do.
Well, because I'm not convinced Texas is a good football team. Texas gets a lot of hype because they're Texas and there's a lot of media and they all that stuff, and they've got the iconic helmet and Bevo and the burnt orange and Matthew McConaughey's the defensive coordinator. I mean, there's a lot there. But
Minister of Culture.
Yeah, whatever.
You didn't read that story yesterday by Dana O'Neill?
I did not.
Very long.
So I didn't read it. And I think LSU's good.
I'm excited just to follow it. I mean, I'm going to watch Ole Miss Arkansas, obviously, but I'm interested. I want to see a ticker. It'll be up on a browser screen on my computer.
Yeah, we're gonna be really dependent on the Wi-Fi at Vaught Hemingway.
We are. UT Martin at number 11, Florida, 6:30 ESPNU, whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
it's fine. Great.
Cool.
All good.
Hey, before we do the rest of the picks, let me tell you these picks are brought to you by Southern Craft Stove and Tap. It is located Sisk Avenue and Highway 7 in Oxford. If you're coming in this weekend, you don't want to fight the square, or maybe you don't want to fight the square the entire time. You want a fine meal, great selection, all of that stuff. I highly recommend Southern Craft Stove and Tap. It's developed by longtime friends and Ole Miss alums Griffin Tanner and Bubba Gross. The dynamic duo were able to fuse their specialties and experience into Southern Craft Stove and Tap. The restaurant places an emphasis on food and atmosphere, mixing the quality of fine dining with a come-as-you-are environment. They've got a family-friendly play area, a private dining room for parties or business meetings, a bar with more than 30 craft beers on tap, seated dining for lunch and dinner, an incredible selection of catering items if you're taking stuff into the Grove or whatnot, and they have an ever-shaded patio. So avoid the chaos of parking on the square. Head over and experience their carefully crafted dishes with your favorite Southern ingredients. Southern Craft Stove and Tap, Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue here in Oxford.
Tulane plus 19.5 at number 10 Auburn, 6:30 ESPN2. Tulane coming off the blowout win over FIU, and Auburn coming off their bit of a miracle win against Oregon in Texas over the weekend. So,
yeah, and this is the one, Chase, that I struggled with.
Yeah, you switched. You were kind of Tulane all week, and now you're going with the Tigers.
That Auburn defensive front is so good. I just don't know whether Tulane has the horses, if you will, to handle those guys.
That's what worries me. Jeffrey and I talked about it. You didn't hear the interview, obviously. Was you look up at halftime and Tulane has like 41 yards. And maybe at the time it's just 17-0, but you know what's coming.
I'll tell you what. If Tulane racks up more than about 350 yards in this game, Will Hall's going to put this thing at the top of his resume.
A lot of pressure on Justin McMillan, the Tulane quarterback, this week.
And I'll go one more hot take.
Going to be a tough day.
One more hot take. Watch Tulane this season. Willie Frist. If there are jobs that open up around this part of the country, I'm not talking about Ole Miss, just in general, he might be a guy that people start to look at. Pretty good.
It's another game at 6:30. I just kind of want my eye on a little bit. Just follow a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
It's screen 3. It's not crazy, but just there.
Yeah, I don't understand why people didn't consider you and me when they were making the schedule.
Not at all.
I mean, not even a little
all
bit.
That crap, it's at 3 o'clock. There's no game at 3 that excites me at all, and then all this at 6:30. The game that will not get any of my attention at 6:30, Eastern Michigan plus 14.5 at Kentucky, 6:30 SEC Network. I got burned last week with Toledo, so we're going to learn from our lessons. We're going to get better, and we're going to take Kentucky to cover that 14.5-point line.
Yeah, their dance team girls are always very pretty.
You went with the Kentucky dance team. They have like the best cheerleading program in the country.
Yeah, well, what happened was, as you can see, was I used a Lee Corso photo because I just did. And then I felt bad about it because I said we need to have some happy photos now. So I went with Aubie because I think Aubie is always a happy mascot. You know, you look at pictures of Aubie and you just kind of feel good. He's happy. He's just a big, tall, skinny tiger walking around.
Yeah, he's so cartoonish that he looks very happy because he doesn't look right. He's like the puppy that's so ugly it's cute.
Yeah. I like Aubie. He's a nice mascot. And then so I mixed in some cheerleader photos because, well, they're nice. They're pretty girls.
Aubie has kind of a tough life because he has at least one other mascot inside his own university to mess with the Eagle. And then he's by far the number 2 Tiger in his conference. So he has kind of a weird day-to-day.
Makes you kind of feel sorry for him.
It does. I mean, the War Eagle gets all the hype, whatever. They even call themselves plainsmen from time to time. Not always the Tigers.
The Eagle just shows up, flies around for a minute, eats a rat.
Dance.
Oh.
Yeah.
He has to stay out there the whole time.
Yeah, and in his same division, he's got Mike the Tiger, which is maybe the best mascot in sports. So, it's a tough deal.
Yeah, Mike the Tiger is certainly top 3, and he's in the mix for number 1.
I mean, Ralphie the Buffalo is up there.
Yeah, and Bevo.
Okay. I've fallen on Uga just because of all the inbreeding and them not able to stay alive.
Yeah, the whole dog
I've gotten
with a life.
sad about Uga.
Yeah, a lifespan of 9 games is not good.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good group. Bevo, Ralphie, and Mike the Tiger. I can't think of anything.
And I don't think it's in that order. I think as we talk about it, I'm down to Ralphie and Mike in the finals.
Okay. I've never seen Ralphie in person. I'd like to see Ralphie in person. You have a picture
I'd
of
like
Bevo.
to go to a Colorado game just to go to the pregame.
Yeah.
I could leave as soon as the pregame's over and go find a microbrewery.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
You want to go to Colorado, go to a game?
Go to Boulder sometime? Yeah.
Okay, sure. Why not? And then finally, Arkansas +7 at Ole Miss, 6:30 SEC Network. We've been talking about it all week. It doesn't require tons of analysis at this point. However, Neal and I both have Ole Miss winning very close games. I do think Ole Miss plays better. I don't think Arkansas is particularly good, but 7 points were just too many for me.
Yeah, I watched both teams play their first game. Neither one impressed at all. Ole Miss's defense was okay. It was good. Memphis did roll up some 400 yards. I mean, I don't want to overdo the defense was awesome. No, it wasn't. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't. It was good. It was solid. It was significantly better than the train wreck of the last 2 years. But was it really good? I don't know. We'll start to see, because I think Arkansas is going to have a plan based off that game that's going to test it a little bit. And they've got, as you mentioned, the 2 backs that are really talented. The big tight end that didn't play against Portland State, he'll play against Ole Miss. He's good. They've got the big athletic receivers on the outside. And I think Hicks, I know everybody makes fun of Hicks. I think Hicks is better than the cat at Memphis. Not by much, but he's better.
He's fine.
Yeah. And Arkansas in its opener did not impress. They looked athletic in some spots. They looked kind of discombobulated. They also looked, and this is where I'm curious, they looked like a team playing an exhibition. Kind of going through the motions a little. It was hot. And then at the end, it was like, pardon my language here, oh shit, we're going to have to win this now. They only won 2 games last year. Winning is hard for them. They've not broken through and won games. So hell, I don't know. I mean, Jeffrey's got Arkansas by 10, and if you ask me, can you see that? I say, yeah, sure, I can see that.
Well, if that happens, that means the Arkansas front 7 defensively dominated the football game.
And Zach's got Ole Miss by 10. And some of that is Zach's probably the bigger fan of the group, probably the bigger optimist of the group. If you told me Ole Miss wins by 10, can I see it? Yeah, not as easily as I see the other, but yeah. I think.
So
I'm with you. You talk about the offensive line. I can't get that out of my head right now.
I can't either. So we'll see. I don't know.
Ole Miss 20 points, and the very first thing I asked myself is, how the hell are they going to get to 20?
Yeah. I do think they're better. I think the offense will play better than that. I just do. But
well, it has to, because if it doesn't, they're not going to score, because this defense is going to be better than the one that they faced last week. It's just got better athletes in it.
Yeah. More coverage at rebelgrove.com. You can find picks there if you want to read through them. Obviously, come see us at Funky's tonight. We will be there. You'll get that show in audio form tomorrow on all the places that you listen to this here podcast. And then complete coverage of Ole Miss and Arkansas 6:30 Saturday from Bald Hemingway Stadium. Talk to you then.